It's finally here, baby. Ohio State going to Autzen, play the Oregon Ducks. A little battle. I think this is just round one for Ducks versus Bucks, but I was going to say a little battle for pole position in the Big Ten about to go down this upcoming weekend. College Game Day is going to be there. We will all be dialed into this one. Make sure you are subscribed right here to the On3 YouTube channel because we have a prediction for you coming up this Tuesday, 11 a.m. Eastern. So make sure you're locked into that live show. The hard count will be live, again, 11 a.m. Eastern on the On3 YouTube channel. Make sure you're subscribed so you do not miss it. So with that prediction on the horizon, what are some of the early factors we need to consider heading into this game? Because Oregon took care of business Friday night against Michigan State. Ohio State took care of business in a convincing fashion over Iowa. One of the things I'm really curious about is the whole the strength on strength, if you will, between these two outfits. For me, it comes down to Oregon's front seven against Ohio State's running backs and Ohio State's wide receivers against Oregon's defensive backs. Now, I just spoke to the strong points of Oregon's defense and the strong points of Ohio State's offense, which is obviously both their skill players, but it's a little bit deeper than that. Because I think Ohio State, if they're able to just throw the ball downfield and be able to stretch this whole thing vertically, it's going to get lopsided, okay? Because that means that Ohio State's able to put up points, they're able to push the tempo, and quite frankly, I'd be surprised if that were the case against this Oregon secondary. They're allowing 5.3 yards a pass. And Ohio State, they have them on stars now, and Jeremiah Smith and Emeka Egbuka. Do not get it twisted. But understand now, that's going to be a battle on the perimeter. And if it ends up being that way, I'm not saying Oregon can't match that tempo, but with the work in progress that Oregon's offense has been to this point in the season, not saying it's bad, not saying it's not still going to be able to keep pace with Ohio State, I think if Ohio State's able to win the matchup on the perimeter, that would probably favor the Buckeyes in the box score. Now, on the other side of that whole equation, when you talk about the trenches, Oregon's front seven is ferocious. I think it's one of the best in college football. Jordan Burch leading that outfit. Derek Harmon also leading that outfit. They got some dudes up front now. Now, Ohio State's running back room in Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins has the luxury of having two RB1s, right? Just pick your poison. Whoever's most fresh, whoever's got the hot hand, you roll with that dude, all right? So if that's the case now, kind of what we said before, if Ohio State's able to push the tempo, set the tone in the trenches, that would be massive. So I understand we're talking a lot about Ohio State with the football here and what Oregon does defensively, but I'm just saying those are two strengths to where if it's a stalemate, things get interesting. If Ohio State's able to have the advantage in one of those sectors, things become probably advantageous for the folks in Columbus. Now, the thing that I'm really curious about here, speaking of those battles when it comes to the strength, I'm curious about Ohio State's defensive line and Oregon's rhythm offensively. Because I think Oregon, when they're really rolling, is when Dillon Gabriel is getting the football out of his hands quickly and on time. That's how this offense runs. You heard them talk about it a lot in the game broadcast the other night in the Michigan State game. Will Stein, the offensive coordinator for Oregon, wants the ball out in 2.5 seconds or less. Makes sense. Get it to Tez Johnson. Let him be special in space. Get it to Trayshawn Holden. Let him be special. Get it to Evan Stewart. One of the better receivers in all of college football that was in the transfer portal this past cycle. Let those guys make their money, quite frankly, is I think what you're saying when you're operating the offense the way that you want to. Now, the Ohio State defensive line is one of the best in college football as well. I spoke to what Oregon is. Ohio State, I think, has every right to that title in the same sense with JT Tuimoloau and Jack Sawyer, the way they push the pocket. If Dillon Gabriel's able to get the ball out quickly, that really minimizes one of the strong suits of Ohio State's defense. Now, then you got to make guys miss in space, which is a whole other problem for Oregon, but I think that situation in itself is how Oregon would like to play the football game. On time, get them rocking and rolling, and then when that happens, when you have the defense running sideline to sideline, one, you're able to, in theory, wear them out a little bit, and also, in theory, able to get some misdirection. Then you get the run game going a little bit. Then you're able to keep them off balance. And then in that sense, Oregon scoring points in bunches, and you're forcing Will Howard on the road in his toughest spot as an Ohio State Buckeye to find a way to match scores. So again, the tempo of this whole thing will be very, very intriguing. Obviously, line of scrimmage is going to have a big factor in this, but the strengths for the Oregon defense match up really intriguingly, I think, with the strengths of Ohio State's offense. But honestly, in this game now, we talk about it a lot during the course of the offseason. At some point in time, your quarterback has to separate for you. Dylan Gabriel, we spoke to what he has to do. He has to be the guy that allows this offense to run on time. For Will Howard now, he's not just a cog in the machine. You brought him to Ohio State to win you football games like this. All that we spoke about with that front seven for Oregon, all that we spoke about with the perimeter players for Ohio State, those battles will go back and forth, I have no doubts. But I think what could be intriguing to watch here is the run game for Will Howard. What he brings in the quarterback design run game, what he brings on the ad-libs. That might end up being the differentiating factor. Whether he has feast or famine in those situations could end up telling the story when it's all said and done here. Now, I also want to make sure we say this. Both of these teams are really well coached. I truly believe that. I don't think that's really a hot take by any stretch of the imagination. I think both Chip Kelly and Will Stein and Tosh Lapoy and Jim Knowles, that's all the coordinators in this game, I think they've both been saving quite a bit for this game. I think that Ohio State revved the engine a little bit against Iowa. I think Oregon maybe showed a little bit more against Michigan State, trying to stretch their legs a little bit for this game. We're going to see, I think, the full arsenal. Just like we saw in Georgia, Alabama a couple weeks ago, we're going to see both these teams show things that they haven't shown to this point in the season. So with that being said now, when there is success for either side of this thing, whether it's the Ohio State offense or the Oregon offense, how does either side adjust? Because I promise you, both these sides will show things they haven't shown just yet on tape. And it will be okay, let's come to the sideline, check out the iPad. Hey, Dylan, what are you seeing? Hey, let's go to this. Hey, let's go to this look. Hey, we haven't practiced this as much. Are you comfortable adjusting on the fly? Same thing for Will Howard. Who's able to have better command of the adjustments, I think, could ultimately be the deciding factor in this game. So I can't wait. I know we spoke a lot about the Ohio State skill players here in this one. I think that's very fair to do because of all the talent they have. Spoke a lot about the Oregon defense. I think the way they played to this point in the year and the way that they played this past week against Michigan State should inspire some confidence for the Duck faithful. I tell you right now, we're sitting here on a Sunday morning. I don't know who I'm picking in this game. We'll have to do some more film study on it and give a little bit more of an in-depth breakdown of both these teams, but I do know this. It'll be a heavyweight bout. It'll be, I do believe, round one of 2, if not 3 rounds for both these teams facing each other. This is the new era of college football, man. This is a Big Ten matchup in Autzen Stadium. I can't wait. Should be a blast. And curious to hear from y'all. Get at me on the socials, Instagram and Twitter, at JD Piquel. Who do you have winning this football game? Excited to hear from y'all. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. Subscribe so you don't miss the prediction on Tuesday. We're going to keep this party rolling, and we will see y'all next time.